Well, today I am making possibly one of my most favorite restaurant snacks, and that is a Masala Chicken Lollipop. Let's begin. First things first is to show you how to actually process a raw chicken and convert this little wing into a lollipop. Well, you'll be surprised to actually know that this will not just give you one lollipops, but actually two lollipops, and the winglet part can actually be reserved for your wonderful sticky barbecues. Well, this part is called the shoulder, this one is the wing, and the tip here is the winglet. And like I said, the winglet makes wonderful barbecues. What you need to do is lay this straight on the cutting board, and with the help of your index finger, you need to actually touch the bone and try to figure out a niche between the two bones. And that's where the knife slides like so, absolutely smoothly. The moment you find a little bit of resistance, that's not the niche that needs to be cut. Remember that. The second one is actually quite easier, because what you need to do is hold the two sides and twist it on the opposite side. What happens with this is the bone actually cracks open right at the joint. It's easier to find the joint like so. That's where the joint is now. That's where the knife slides and comes out absolutely clean in one cut. Well, now this will actually create two lollipops, and this one, for now, for this recipe, gets discarded. Now, in the wing, there are actually two bones. One is a thicker bone and one is a thin bone. The purpose of a lollipop is a stick, which in this case is a bone, and a clumped up part of the meat, which actually forms the meat part. Now, in this case, what you need to do is remove the thin bone, which is a little bit of a trick, but trust me, if you get it right, it's very simple. What you need to do is just create a cut or a gash between the two bones, like so. So here you see, the bone is now split and divided in two parts. What we need to do is juggle it lightly around the two bones and try to dislocate the meat. As simple as this. Similarly, let's do it for the other bone as well. Now, if you see, this bone is separated from this bone and the meat has almost come to one side. The next step is to insert your fingers and clump all of it together like so. You take the thinner bone, you twist it over and push it from the other side. That's where this comes out nice and clean, and all the meat is actually clumped onto this. Now, the next step is as simple as cleaning the bone, because of course after this gets fried, you need the stick to look nice and clean and the meat needs to clump on one side. That's as simple as taking the blade of the knife and scraping it up. You need to take the end part of the bone, hold it under the knife and give it one knock. You pull all of this on one side. The bone is sticking out, you roll it like so, and with this, you have chicken lollipop, which is raw, yet done and ready. Let's similarly move on to making some more lollipops. The same step needs to apply to the shoulder as well, but one thing that's important here to notice is that the shoulder has one bone which is thick. Do not discard that, because that is the bone that will actually form your lollipop. All you need to do is scrape the bone like so, get it nice and clean, pull it all down like so and scrape it. Similarly, need to scrape the other side and knock off the end. So this one is the shoulder and this one is the wing. With this, our chicken lollipop is of course processed and ready. Let's move on to the next step, and that is marinating. Well, the marination will also end up doubling as a batter. So let's see how that's made. The first thing that goes in a deep bowl is of course an egg. For the batter to become nice and thick and of coating consistency, I'm adding in refined flour or all-purpose flour. To make the lollipop nice and crisp, I'm adding in cornstarch. The next ingredient is a recipe by itself, and that is Szechuan sauce or Szechuan chutney. I'm adding all of this because I want this to be absolutely nice, chatpata and fiery. I'm adding in just a touch of light soy sauce. This also has salt, so remember this while adding salt. To this, I'm adding in paste of ginger and garlic. To spike this up and give it some wonderful color, I'm adding in Kashmiri red chili powder. To spike this up further, I'm adding in some garam masala powder, and that's where chicken masala lollipop, the name comes in from. It's got chilies, it's got garam masala, it's got Szechuan, it's got ginger garlic. But what's important here is the look of it, and it's going to be a little knobbly, a little crusty. It's going to be deep red, and it's going to have these specks, and those specks are actually spring greens. Well, this is a combination of spring greens and onions. Do not overdo this again because you want it speckled here and there. Instead of this, you can also add in coriander. You can take the stem and the leaves, lesser of the leaves, more of the stem, and create a combination. You can add that. To this, I'm adding in salt. Remember the fact that this is the only time you're going to add salt into this recipe. So the salt has to be just perfect. To this, I'm adding in freshly cracked black pepper. Let's mix all of this wonderfully together. Ensure that it's lump free to begin with. It will look like a very thick batter. The next step is to add in water. Now this water is again depending on the consistency that you're looking at. I'm beginning with just like 1/8 cup of water. Mix this well, and I think that should be just perfect. Mix all of this well. And if you see, the batter has become beautiful reddish orange in color. Well, this batter is now of coating consistency, and to check that, you need to take your index finger and swipe it like so. If the gaps retain its shape, that means the batter is just perfect. One final mix, and with this, your batter is done and ready. Now, if you notice, there's oil that's screaming for attention, and that's where we shoot in action. What we need to do is dip these wonderful raw lollipops into this batter. Of course, not the bone, just the meat part of it. Roll it well and drop it in hot oil. Well, this is going to fry gloriously for 7 to 8 minutes on medium to low flame. Remember the fact that this is actually a lump of clotted and collected skin and meat. So it'll take a little time more and further for the heat to seep in. Well, this now is fried and ready, and it's just perfect. Let's remove this on an absorbent tissue paper so that all the excess oil kind of drains away. With this, off goes the flame, and the chicken lollipop straight goes on the platter. And this, trust me, goes amazingly well with a spicy chutney. Well, I'm using Szechuan, of course, but you can use any chutney of your choice. With this, your chicken masala lollipop is done and ready. And if you're looking at more such stunning, quick, simple, easy recipes, stay tuned.
I'm going to show you a nice recipe which can be served as a starter made with chicken, which is called the chicken cheese balls. I have half kg of boneless chicken, which I'm going to cook with 5 to 6 cloves of garlic, 4 green chilies finely chopped, some salt, half a teaspoon of pepper powder. I'm going to let the chicken cook in its own juices. Saute this for a minute, and then I'm going to cover it and cook it. So I sauteed this chicken on a high flame for a minute, and then I have reduced the flame, and I'm going to cook it till it's done. This I have done so that the juices get trapped when the flame is high, and then it cooks in its own juices and the chicken tastes nice. So a boneless chicken does not take long to cook, 7 to 8 minutes, and it's done. So let's switch off the flame right now and cool the chicken, and now we're going to grind this to a nice pasty texture. As you can see, I have not added any water while grinding this chicken. Now let's remove it in a bowl. To give this a little Indian touch, I'm going to add some finely chopped coriander. Mix this well. And now we'll make the chicken and cheese balls. So I'm taking a table tennis ball size mixture in my hand and I'm going to spread this out a little bit. I have some mozzarella cheese here which I'm going to stuff in the center, and then I'm going to just roll it into a ball and keep it aside. Similarly with the rest of the chicken mixture and the cheese, we'll make the balls. I'm going to beat 2 eggs now. And I'm going to take each chicken cheese ball, dip it in the egg, coat it with flour, maida, roll it in breadcrumbs and fry it. Let's drop these balls in a kadai of hot oil and fry them golden brown. This doesn't take much time because the chicken is cooked. It's only the breadcrumbs that have to turn golden.
It is almost next to impossible for me to pass by a local bakery and not pick up a puff pastry. Puff pastry has been one of my most favorite snacks ever. So today on that note, let's see a chicken puff. Hey guys, this is the Bombay chef Varun Inamdar and welcome to Get Curried. The most important thing in a puff is to get the filling nice, juicy and moist, for which I'm going to take some oil, heat the pan on moderate flame. As soon as the oil heats up, we'll add in some cumin seeds. Once these begin to crackle, I'll add in chopped red onions. To cook the onions faster, I'll add in some salt. We need to saute these on high flame for 2 to 3 minutes till they just kind of turn translucent. Once the onions turn translucent, I'll add in crushed ginger, garlic and green chilies. Cook this for another 2 minutes or till the raw flavor kind of goes away. Once that's done, we'll start adding in the powder spices. In this case, red chili powder, some turmeric powder, and finally, some coriander powder. In fact, you could skip all of these and add in a spoonful of Madras curry powder. Time to add in the minced chicken. It's a boneless breast of chicken, which we have hand chopped and not minced in a grinder. Pan fry this on high flame for 2 to 3 minutes. Like I said earlier, the essence of a good puff pastry lies in the filling too. So that's the reason why you do not cook this till it's completely done, because it's also going to get baked in the oven. Once the mixture is almost cooked, like almost 90% cooked, I'll turn the flame off and add in freshly cut coriander leaves along with mint leaves. Give this mixture a nice mix and allow this to cool down completely. In the interim, let's move on to the puff pastry. Here is a puff pastry which is beautifully laminated and layered. Well, it's available everywhere. The first thing now is to dredge some refined flour on your worktop. I'm also sprinkling some flour on top of it and I'm going to press it down lightly with some pressure. I'm using a rolling pin. Well, this is a frozen piece of pastry and that's how you need to begin working. Puff pastry is usually available in frozen form. We need to bring it down to room temperature and press it lightly like so with a rolling pin. Do not do this forcefully because you may just end up getting all the butter outside. Turn it over and repeat the process. I'm going to turn it at an angle and roll it like so. Do not apply a lot of pressure. Like I said earlier, you do not want the butter to be oozing out. I've rolled this into a sheet which is roughly around 3 mm thick. Well, you could get it into a triangle, a square. Just going to trim the sides off. Ensure there is minimal wastage here. Well, not that you're going to throw this. You can make nice cheese straws out of this. But for now, let's concentrate on the chicken puff. I'm going to just give a few markings. I'm going to cut it into 3 long strips. The next thing is to cut it into squares. And now, time to get in the cool down stuffing. We need to place spoonfuls right in the center. Around the edges, I'm going to apply some water with my index finger. This will help in sticking the pastry together. Well, I am making these cute little triangles. You could also make some rounds, half moons or squares. I'm going to take the top side, turn it over and press it on this side. Similarly, let's move on to the rest. You need to flip it over with the top edge coming towards you. You need to press it down with all your fingers. It's important to press the sides down because the puff in the oven will just open up like a flower and you do not want that to happen. Well, to secure it even further, using a fork, I'm going to press the edges down. Now this gives you 2 things. 1 is to give this a nice designed edge and 2 is to secure the pastry together. This step is also known as crimping. The last step is to make the egg wash, for which I'm going to use an egg yolk. To this, I'll be adding in some water. And along with this, some salt. Whisk this together and apply this on top of the pastry using a brush. This is done to give the pastry a nice golden brown crust. Do not overdo this because you do not want an omelette on top. And finally, I'm going to sprinkle some untoasted sesame seeds. Carefully lift this and place it on the baking tray. Well, I've lined this with a silpat. You could also line this with a baking sheet. Time to bake these puff pastries in a preheated oven at 200 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. The puff pastry is baked and ready. Allow this to cool down for 5 minutes before you serve.
So piping hot samosa is loved by one and all on any given day, right guys? But today's recipe is specially for all the non-veg lovers out there. We'll be making chicken samosas. In a frying pan, we'll heat up some oil. Once the oil has heated up, we'll add in 1 chopped medium-sized onion. Once the onions become slightly translucent, we'll add in 1 chopped tomato. The tomato and onions are done. Now we'll add the spices to it. First, I'll be adding around a teaspoon of chili powder. Then I'll be adding half a teaspoon of garam masala, half a teaspoon of red chili powder, 2 teaspoons of chicken masala. You can use any brand you like. Half a teaspoon of black pepper. Now we'll mix it. I've stirred this mixture for around 1 to 2 minutes. And now I'll be adding in around 250 grams of minced chicken. Now we'll be adding in some salt to taste. Then half a tablespoon of green chilies which I've grounded and around 2 tablespoons of ginger garlic paste. Again mix it. Now we'll be adding in coriander. I've chopped around a handful of coriander. Again mix it. Let the chicken cook for around 2 to 3 minutes. So chicken filling is now ready. We'll switch the gas off and we'll keep it aside to cool down for about half an hour before we start to assemble the samosas. So before we start to assemble the samosas, let's prepare a sealing paste. It's basically made out of maida or all-purpose flour and water. I've already taken a few tablespoons of maida in a bowl and I'll be adding little water to it. We'll be adding water little at a time because we don't want a runny paste. It should just be smooth and enough so as to seal the samosas. So our paste is ready. Now let's start assembling the samosas. Here I'm taking a samosa patti. You get it ready-made at any local store. On this, in one corner, I'll be putting the chicken filling we made earlier. Then we'll start rolling the patti from one end. Ensure that the filling doesn't come out. Be sure to roll it tightly. Where you see the open ends, we'll be applying the paste. Just press the ends together. Similarly, we'll roll out the second patti. Before frying the samosas, we'll heat up some oil in a kadai or a frying pan. The oil is hot enough. Let's fry the samosas. Very gently drop each samosa in the oil. Once the samosas turn golden brown in color, they are done. And we'll take them out. So our samosas are done. You can have them hot with ketchup or any other sauce or dipping of your choice. Do try this recipe and let us know in the comment section below. For such interesting recipes, stay tuned to Get Curried.
Well, legend has it that North Indian immigrants from Punjab settled in the 80s in a place called Koliwada in central Mumbai. That's when they started a recipe called Jhinga Koliwada or Prawn Koliwada. Well, over the years, there are various versions of that recipe, ranging from Chana Koliwada to something that we're making today, which is a Chicken Koliwada. Well, first things first is to make a batter, and this is going to be a batter using some multiple things. Well, the first one is refined flour. Call it maida, call it all-purpose flour. That's completely personal. The next one is besan. Well, this will help in making the batter nice and sticky and will kind of neighbor or almost envelope the pieces of meat or chicken. The next one is cornstarch, and this is to make the batter nice and crisp. For some color and spice, this is red chili powder, which is a combination of chilies that give you good color and heat. The next ingredient is asafoetida or hing, and this one is only and only used because of the chane ka atta or the besan that is used, because that will help in better digestion. The next is chaat masala, of course, to make it nice and chatpata. And the next ingredient is ajwain. Now, ajwain are carom seeds, and this is actually the base premise or the base flavor of chicken koliwada or prawn koliwada. Well, I like using it directly, but what you can do is you can just toast it lightly, just crush it lightly, and that will also kind of help in intensifying the flavor. The next and the final ingredient is salt as required, and this one is just used once now in the batter. We need to mix all of this together, and with the help of water or an egg, we need to make a thick batter. Mix all of this together. Of course, you can use your hands. That's the best. But otherwise, if you're not comfortable, you can also use a whisk, because what you need to convert this is into a nice, thick, lump-free batter. This batter at this stage is a little denser, it's a little pastier. We need to just loosen this lightly, and for that, just a touch of more water. Chicken Koliwada, like I said earlier, is a bar snack and it's very peculiarly red in color. It's crisp, yet it's soft in the middle. Well, there are two flavors that actually define a Koliwada or an Amritsari. The flavors here are red chili powder and ajwain, also known as carom seeds. All you need to do is toast the carom seeds lightly, just crush them a little, and that's where the flavor comes out beautifully of ajwain. And that, in a way, is the signature flavor of that recipe. The batter needs to be nice and of pouring consistency. The next step is, of course, to put in chicken breast, which has been cut into long strips. The chicken strips, of course, need to be washed. They need to be patted dry because the batter needs to kind of coat the chicken, and that way it will cling onto it while frying. Mix all of this. You can keep this marinated in the refrigerator only and only if you need. If you think there are guests coming home and you're doing this for a party, marinate this, keep it in the refrigerator and fry this absolutely garma garam for your guests. The next step, of course, is to fry this on medium to high flame till these are crisp and golden brown in color. Our chicken Koliwada is fried and ready. Now this, of course, needs to be transferred on an absorbent tissue paper for all the excess oil to be absorbed away. And similarly, let's start frying the rest of the chicken. With this, chicken Koliwada is done and ready, and this goes amazingly well, just like that. But what you need to do is sprinkle in some generous amchur or raw mango powder with some splash of lemon. Well, Koliwada or Amritsari is possibly one of my most favorite starters. Any home party and Koliwada in some form, whether it's a jhinga or a chana or a vegetable Koliwada for the vegetarians, or the paneer Koliwada for, of course, my paneer loving friends, or chicken Koliwada, has to be there. It's absolutely simple, it's very quick, it's very simple, and it's very easy. And trust me, one of the most amazing starters. And for more such stunning recipes, stay tuned.
Chicken Farcha is a popular Parsi dish which is served on festive occasions like weddings, birthdays, and even family dinners. It's an extremely simple recipe, so let's see how to make the chicken Farcha. So I have taken 500 grams of boneless chicken. You can use chicken with the bone, which is normally the way in which the Farcha is made. But I'm going to serve the chicken Farcha as an evening snack to my family, and so I thought I should make small bite-sized portions. To that I'm going to add a teaspoon of garlic paste, a teaspoon of ginger paste, around a tablespoon of red chili powder, quarter teaspoon of turmeric powder, a teaspoon of garam masala powder, squeeze half a lemon in this, add some finely chopped coriander leaves, about a tablespoon, and let's add the salt. Mix this well. Marinate the meat for at least half an hour. The more you marinate it, the better the farcha will taste. But at least for half an hour, let's marinate this. We marinated the meat for about half an hour, and now we're going to simply coat these small succulent pieces of meat with breadcrumbs. So I have a cup of breadcrumbs here, and I'm going to take each piece and just flatten it out, press it hard onto the breadcrumbs so that the breadcrumb sticks on the meat. I've kept a kadai with oil to be heated over here because we're going to fry the farchas. I have 2 eggs here which I'm going to beat. Add a little salt to it. Just a pinch of salt. And then let's beat the eggs. And now what we're simply going to do is, the oil is nice and hot. I'm going to take each piece of the chicken, just dip it into the egg and simply fry them. After a minute or two, let's just turn them. I'm going to reduce the flame slightly from a high and between the medium because I want the chicken to cook well from inside as well. I'm already getting an amazing aroma. It's been about 3 to 4 minutes. The farchas were frying in hot oil. They've got a beautiful color. Now let's get them out of the oil. Let's drain the oil off. For those of you who are very health conscious, you can drain the oil off on a kitchen towel as well. And now the farcha is ready to be served. This beautifully fried, lacy chicken farcha can be served with a ketchup or any green chutney of your choice.